Hello there, I'm Peter A. Unlike most of my previous writing, Art of Insomnia from Hedgehog Poetry Press is very personal. My darling wife Helen died just over 2 years ago. This book, which summarises the chaos of my life in the 9 months which followed, contains 22 poems, some of which touch on art, some on insomnia, but at its core, it's about Helen, the woman to whom it's dedicated. Much of it is a continuing conversation with Helen. The book has 4 sections. First is entitled Beautiful Terrible, which has just 3 very short poems written soon after Helen's passing. I'll read one of those. This poem invented a new variety of sunflower. Helenium one and only. Latin name Helenium sui generis. Environmentally friendly but with low disease immunity. Of the Helianthus hybrid, a threatened rare variety. Compared to the usual sunflower, surprisingly small. So unassuming you would not associate the two at all. Blossoms with maturity, from being a wallflower to leaving lasting impressions upon all who see her. Never disappointing while growing and blooming, but when without warning there occurs an uprooting, be warned that her removal leaves a gaping hole, a space hard to fill in any way meaningful. Second section of the book, French Retreat, contains 3 longer poems. They date from 3 months on and all relate in different ways to the need at that time to escape, just be somewhere else, and the opportunity I took to throw myself into the distraction of an oil painting course in France. I'll read just one. Found in France. Though you would have to concede its picture-perfect rural beauty, here for the record are the things you wouldn't like about the place. The middle of the countryside, such a distance from anywhere, the crowded transport transferring from the airport, the open windows to keep the place cool, inviting houseflies, the bees, the dogs, the ever-darting, omnipresent lizards, the lack of television, the steps, useful for others, which would be impossible for you. Around those steps, the lavender, which at home would aid your sleeping, but here for you, a nightmare, attracting wasps and bees. The spider's improbably small body, impossibly spindly long legs, waiting in the shower room, patiently. Also the tiny white spider. I bet you never saw an entirely white spider. The mosquitoes, the hornets, the blood-sucking horseflies, almost certainly lining up to feast upon you in particular. The bats awaiting the chance to be entangled in your lush, long hair. The swimming pool that would be out of bounds for you, the conversation in which you would not wish to speak. The revelation before bedtime concerning the cleaner's cat, its trophy mice, and the minor flea infestation. Successfully eradicated, we think, but let us know if you get bitten. As for me, the only aspect of the French place I do not appreciate is you not being here. But the artificial escape to France only lasted a week, and then Section 3 of the book's Return to What Remains. Difficult to explain, there are 9 poems trying, I suppose, to characterise the next stages of dealing with the reality. Here are 2 of them. Better fail. Some people think you're better than you actually are, and if you try to tell them otherwise, they just won't accept it. They will brook no protest, no confessional, and your soul shrinks from absence of forgiveness. So you tell yourself you're going to be better than you actually are, just to rebalance the scale. Some people think you're braver than you actually are, and if you try to tell them otherwise, they just won't accept it. They will brook no protest, no sign of weakness, and your heart is strained from absence of empathy. So you determine you're going to be braver than you actually are, knowing you're destined to fail. Acting, though dramatic tears may have been expected, the waiting audience was left disappointed. Though in moments still, quiet teardrops spill, not the cataracts which mark out other acts. Though in private scream and often ask just why, I strut my time on stage barely moist of eye. Thus do I act strong when I lack all kinds of strength. Thus do I make sense when nothing at all makes sense. Yes, I know. Acting, though. Final section of the book is Insomnia. It contains 7 poems. I'll read just 2 short poems from it. Thank you all for listening. Although this has been a very personal labour of love for me, I trust it's been relatable and that you've been able to enjoy it as poetry. Cut Adrift. It started as cowardice, afraid of going to bed, afraid of going to sleep, afraid of not waking up. Although I missed your voice, I was afraid of hearing from you, afraid of what you thought. A child afraid of ghosts. Though those fears have gone, the seemingly illogical hours, the turning night into day, all reflects my life capsized. I now accept and understand this is not a passing phase. Whatever days remain for me, I shall spend them tossed by waves. And finally, a little night music. Of course, there are the sounds of nature. The other night was torrential rain. Every morning, the dawn chorus. The sounds that were always there for us, even if we did not notice, when TV and radio and chatter filled the brain. But in the silence of your passing, there comes previously unheard noise, the minor and normally ignored sounds, the creaks of movement in our house, the whirring of the shower room fan, all convert to music and voice to fill the void. Thank you. Thank you.